I'm the mother of 5 children, 5 wonderful children, and I've been married for 45 years to the same man, wonderful. Before David got sick, he was a quiet little boy, and he was a little boy who played by himself with his cars, and he was really easy. He was an easy little boy to raise. And as he got to be a teenager, he had all kinds of friends. He was very athletic, played in all sports, and really starred in all sports. And he had lots of girlfriends because he was handsome. We didn't know David was becoming mentally ill until he was a senior in high school. And we found out that he might fail his senior year because a teacher called us and said, he's not been in school for a month. And we were shocked because every day he left for school, his friends picked him up in the car and took him to school. But what we found out was that the friends were picking him up and driving him to the neighborhood that was being built. Well, he would go there and sleep all day. So we knew something was wrong. So I tutored him through English, and Dave helped him with his math, and he did ultimately graduate. Those friends went away, basically, because they would call him and try to communicate with him, but he wasn't communicating. He wasn't talking much at all. He didn't have a desire to go off with friends. We made him get a job because we thought that would be good for him. So he worked at a gas station for a little while. He did the night shift, and he worked at a grocery store. None of them would last very long, but we thought this was a way of getting him out of the house and socializing. And there was no friendships came from that either. Right away, we tried to get him to some counseling. We thought that would help. Then we got him to the hospital again. And then that doctor tried to give him different medications. At home, we just tried to be gentle with him. We'd see some of the bizarre behavior and just sort of let it go. He was so out there. He was, for instance, he would do obsessive compulsive things. He was always a weightlifter, and he would sit in the den while we were all watching TV and he'd lift these weights. Up and down, up and down. And he had such an odd look on his face. But I thought it was just the stress of everything, didn't know what it was. Then he went back to the Navy, and probably a couple months later, we got a call, the call that no parent wants to get, from a doctor out in San Diego. David told me, my husband is also David, he called me up and said, "Get on the other line, Mary Jo, you have to hear this." So we were both listening. Well, the doctor said, your son attempted suicide and he's in the hospital, Balboa Hospital. And they said, he belongs to us now, so you don't even want to think about coming out here. A few weeks later, we got a call saying, would you take your son back? And we said, of course we'll take him back. Dave picked him up, and when he got off the plane, he had a sweatshirt, tied like this, so you could hardly see his face. And he hardly talked. And Dave tried to communicate with him. Senior tried to communicate with Junior, and it was nothing. And when he came in the door, we all wanted to welcome him back and make him feel like it's okay, we're here, we'll support you. And he just went off to his room and isolated. So here he is. He comes home. We don't know where to go for help. He again told us, "I want to commit suicide." They tried all kinds of medications, and they weren't working. And we struggled. I was crushed. I was just so upset. I thought to myself, what did I do? What did I do wrong as a mother? I cried through the whole session, and he looked at me and he said, "You can't believe this is your fault, is it?" And I started to sob because I did. He said, "Oh, no, those are old-fashioned ideas. That isn't it at all." He said, "Here, read some books on it, and I want you to do something else. I want you to go to Concord. It's an organization in Westerville, and isn't that where you live?" "Yes." "And there's a meeting called Families in Touch, and they're for other families who are dealing with son, daughter, sister, brother. I think it will be helpful." And that's when things started to change. So then I went to my first Concord meeting. I remember walking into the room and there was a lot of laughter. And then I'm hearing the stories and I'm thinking, wow, they're like my stories, but they're telling things and they're laughing about it. And I thought, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to be happy again, you know? And they're coping with the mental illness. And I thought, it gave me hope and strength that I could do that too, that I could get to that place where it's just ordinary. Linda Jakes was at my first meeting and she facilitated it, and it was perfect. The way she'd ask the questions or she'd answer the questions, and everybody responded to her, and I thought, I've got to come back, and I did. I don't think I missed for 2 years.
When I first met Mary Jo Savarese, there was an affinity, I think, immediately. As I saw her come into our Families in Touch program, she was a little afraid, but probably one of the stronger people that I ever saw walk in the door, even initially. She was here to make a difference. She was here to understand what she could do and why she could do it, and to watch her bloom in even just the first meeting, to watch her look around at everybody that was there and say, I'm not alone, fills your heart. One of the things that I pride myself in at Concord is that we create a culture that is inclusive, that everybody fits. There's no you're this or you're that. Everybody fits into that culture, and with that, you see people who have felt outcast and stigmatized with these type of illnesses feel like they're a part of something, and that's my job.
When you have a mental illness, it's very hard to belong somewhere. I mean, other than your family. And he belongs there, and that's one of our most critical human needs, is to belong, and that's what they make him feel. There's a culture of caring at Concord, and they make him feel like they care. And I mean, not feel like it, they do. So he knows it. I would like the stigma of mental illness to be broken. I would like people to know that it is no different than a physical illness. No one's ashamed of a family member that has diabetes. Well, mental illness is a chemical imbalance, and if they get the right chemicals in them, they can improve. Family members should not be ashamed of their ill family member, and they should be able to talk about it. And the more people talk about it, the more it will become ordinary, and the stigma will be broken.
There's a fear that's associated with people that are ill, that are mentally ill, as they would call it. And what you find when you get to interface with folks like this and their families on a regular basis, there is this plethora of beauty, because they do life different. They've had to do life different. And I think you can give them things that they have learned to retract from.
When I first heard that David had schizophrenia, I was devastated. I was frightened. I was so sad. I was in grief over this beautiful young man who had so much potential and all the things I thought he might be. He was an athlete. He was social. He just had so much potential. The family took it really hard too. We all cried a lot. The most helpful for me was to seek counseling myself, and early on. Before we even understood what was going on, I was kind of a basket case. David today, compared to how he was before, when he's on his medication and he goes to his appointments, he is a kind, gentle man. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He wants to be around family. We have less and less episodes, and if there is an episode, we can call Concord up. They'll help us to plan what's next and how to help him when we're in the middle of a crisis. And today we have many more normal days with David than we ever had in the past.
Dave Jr.'s progress here at Concord is like any progress. It ebbs and flows. I think currently, if we were to ask at this moment, I think it's probably the best it's been. He's in the process of moving into a brand new apartment that is just going to offer him a lot of different opportunities than he has had in some of the other living situations that he's been at. Mary Jo went from feeling like she had victimized her son to knowing that her son has an illness that she has become a spokesperson for, she has become a warrior for, she has become a a strong, sensitive, powerful woman. And I think, believe it or not, she probably wanted to go, I didn't want to become strong that way. She's a stronger person because she has Dave Jr. as a son. More than anything else, when we start to embrace mental illness as something no different than a diabetes diagnosis or another heart condition, if we start treating people the same way we would treat folks that were diagnosed with those type of illnesses, there is going to be more of an inclusion. It will not be something that people will run away from because they see this as behaviorally based instead of as physically based or biologically based. And when you have that, it's that blame the victim kind of mentality. And I do believe that we will move away from that.
Concord is the best place for help because it encompasses so many parts of the person. There's the medication and the nursing. There's the doctor that sees the patient, that sees David all the time, you know, I mean, on such a regular basis. David never misses an appointment because he knows that Dr. Goss cares about him. Concord helps not just people with serious mental illnesses, but they help older people. They help them, like people that maybe don't have family support, get to doctor's appointments. Then they help families that have, you know, small children that need counseling. They go into the schools to spot the kids that could be problems down the road. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and we couldn't make it without them. My husband and I praise Concord all the time, and we could not do what we do and help our son the way we do without Concord.